Airline stocks are about to be very volatile, and so in this video we're going to go ahead and explain why. I dedicated 24 hours to do my research on the airline stocks, and this is what I found. You must be wondering why. Why now? Why would we discuss something that is operating at a loss? Is the technical analysis telling us to buy or sell? And what is going to happen with the airline companies within the near future? Well, in this video, we're going to go ahead and discuss and answer all of those questions. Let's go ahead and start with a quick financial breakdown of the largest 4 airline companies in the United States. American Airlines is the largest airline company in US. With a fleet size of 1569, the current stock price is year-to-date 57% lower than at the beginning of this calendar year. They just reported their net loss of $2.1 billion in the second quarter. The second biggest airline company in US is United Airlines, with their fleet size being over 1,380 units. Year-to-date, they are trading at 59% lower than the beginning of this year. They also reported a loss of $1.63 billion in the second quarter as their revenue plunged more than 87%. The third company is Delta Airlines, with their fleet size of 1,349 units. The price of their stock is year-to-date 52% lower than at the beginning of the year. They just reported $5.7 billion net loss in the second quarter. And the fourth company is going to be the Southwest Airlines, with their fleet size of 754 units. Their share price is currently trading at 32% year-to-date lower, and they just reported their first quarterly operating loss since the depth of Great Recession at $915 million. If you ever compared financials of the airline companies to some other companies out there on the market, you will have a whole new appreciation for this video because their financials are super convoluted. In this video, we're going to go ahead and simplify it. Airline companies ended up getting more than $15 billion in financial aid, but it comes with strings attached. Airline companies that ended up accepting the financial aid cannot do unjustified pay cuts, lay off their workers, or do unnecessary buybacks of their shares until the September 30th. If airline companies would have to pay 50% of their aid in full in equity, US government would actually own more than 40% of United States airline companies. Same thing happened with General Motors. They ended up accepting $50 billion from United States government in financial aid, and then they filed for bankruptcy 2 years later. They ended up erasing their debt to US government, and the following year they ended up issuing new stock. If the airline industry is going to follow the same exact path, we know what to prepare ourselves for. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the brighter side. Actually, maybe not so bright, but let's do the technical analysis of all 4 of those stocks. American Airlines has been making higher lows since the beginning of August, finding strong support at 180 slow-moving average. Their price can stay within the same channel up until around 7 October. If the stock breaks through the resistance of around $14, we can see the increased volatility and 8.5% potential for growth till the next resistance. For the long-term holders, it will make sense to confirm $14 resistance as a support before buying the stock. Alternatively, if it breaks through the current support of 180-day SMA, next major support will be 25% lower. When you're looking at the graph, make sure that you understand what this trend line is indicating. It basically says that the people are slowly buying into the airline company stocks in hopes that it will recover in the future. Higher lows for a long period of time is actually a very optimistic indicator overall. We can also see almost identical setup with the United Airlines. Price is consolidating at 180-day SMA with the higher highs since 10 July. The graph is slightly different for Delta and Southwest because it's not as close to 180-day SMA, but it's still making higher lows ever since the end of July. Trading strategy can be extrapolated from the American Airlines, but the major support lines for this trend will be along the way of higher lows. I myself continue to monitor airline companies because within the next couple of weeks, they will most likely have increased volatility, which will create a lot of opportunities for trading. With the current setup, my indicators are basically screaming to buy this stock. The financials are terrible and the markets are extremely irrational. I will personally feel a lot safer if I'm investing into something that had broken through the resistance and confirmed it as a support. Even though that we are going through and through with all of the airline companies, make sure to stick around till the very end of this video because I have a very important thing to point out about the second biggest aerospace company in US. That's right, Airbus displaced Boeing as aerospace's biggest company. Shares of the Boeing are trading almost 55% lower if we are comparing the price to the beginning of this year. The main cause for that are news like this one. Company uncovered 4th production flaw affecting about 700 Dreamliners. Even though the company's stock did not get hit as much as it would have in the past, that doesn't necessarily mean that those are good news. That just means that investors and the leadership of the company is actually used to bad news and just has a lot more room for improvement. We have so many different companies that are doing the same exact thing right now, dumping all of their news at basically the same time of the crisis. in hopes of better recovery in the future. Same thing that happened in 2008 during the global financial crisis. Just look at some of the major bank stocks like JP Morgan Chase, whose shares are up 400% since 2008, or Goldman Sachs Group, who is up 200%, or even Bank of America, whose stock never fully recovered, but it's still up almost 400% since the lows of November of 2008. If you know the company that is dumping all of the negative information at the same time, leave it to me in the comment section below. I'm really curious to what you guys can come up with. And there is a reason why I'm bringing this up to your attention. Just like we discussed during the technical analysis, markets are not always rational. In order for you to be a successful investor, what do you have to do? You have to invest into something that brings people value. And one smart way of dealing with this and actually benefiting financially off of this is to wait for the financial news to come out that will act as a catalyst for it to actually pop through the main resistance that it's trading at right now for the short term to benefit on. And then if you're trying to invest for a long term, then you would want it to bounce off of that resistance that is going to be acting as a support for it to continue to go up. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to support this channel. You know how to do it, and I will see you in the next one.